Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to Jamie Photography. So in this video, I'm going to show you a little bit longer post-process that I would do on an image that I think needs a little bit more attention. But what I have also done is I've put the raw file for this in the link below. You'll be able to find it so you can download the raw file yourself and follow along if you want to on this process. I've also included in that link the same sky that I'm going to use as well, so you can actually do a complete copy if you want to with the sky replacement. So all I ask is you please respect my copyright. If you do share your image of this on social media, please give some credit to myself, Jamie Photography. That would be very much appreciated. So what we're going to do, this is the Au Lapin Agile. It's a lovely little cabaret restaurant in Mont Martre in Paris. I took this last year and on a workshop with Serge Ramelli, which was a wonderful week. And we went up to Mont Martre to shoot this lovely little place. And it just finished raining. So the cobbles are nice and shiny, which works really well. And what you see here is I've actually shot for the highlights, so I'm trying not to overexpose on the bright light patches. That's the really important point. The lanterns themselves are quite bright, but I can show you how we can make those look better. So 2.5 seconds taken on a tripod, f8, which is normally around the sharpest place on your lens, somewhere between f5.6 and f11 is the sharpest place to go. ISO 100, try and keep that noise level down using my Sony A7R4 and the absolutely incredible 16 to 35 f2.8 GM lens is astonishing. I actually sold a couple of other lenses so I could afford to buy this lens a couple of years ago. It is so good. The hype is really there. So really great lens. But I think with Nikon and also with Canon these days, they're wide angle, they're 15 to 35s and the like are also equally sharp. The lenses today are so good. So yeah, so shot this at 16mm, so it is quite wide, and I've got the subject right in the center of the image to try to reduce the amount of perspective warp that you tend to get with a very wide angled lens. If you put things off to the edges, you'll find that they will warp away. We will need to correct that. So let's jump in and let's get on and do this process. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bring down the highlights to the minimum so I can see that it's actually the light levels are quite nice. I'm going to open up the shadows to maximum as well, and I'm just going to brighten the image up just a little bit for the moment because I want to be able to see clearly these lampposts, because I want to be able to correct the perspective. So I'm now going to go down to transform, and I'm going to click auto just to see if it works fine, and it's not too bad. But I'm going to go over to guided, and I'm going to draw my own lines here. So I'm going to take this light fitting here, center of this light column here, down to the bottom. That's it. And I'm going to take this light column over here. So looking at the magnifying square there, you can see the center of that street light there, like as such. Just going to go to the crop just to see whether we need to bring this over just a little bit over here. I think we just need to take the edge of that building out over there. I'm going to bring it up a little bit from the bottom. It's about here, and I'm going to hit return. So we've got the positions that we want to use. So just going to go back to transform a second. Just look at this over here. Maybe we just want to pull a little bit of an angle in just to free the edge of that curve up a little bit more, maybe a tiny bit more. There we go. So we've got a little bit of that curve there. We can deal with these cars in a little while. So I'm happy with that. So I think we need to go into Photoshop now just to remove these bollards and tidy up. There's a little bit of litter here. This signpost needs to go, and we need to do a sky replacement. This blue sky is not doing a lot for the shot. So let's right click edit in, go to edit in Adobe Photoshop 2023. There we go, we are over into Photoshop. So let's deal with these bollards first and foremost. So I'm just going to zoom in down here, and I'm going to take the stamp tool. So we're going to need to bring this line up through here. We're going to need to bring this line up through here and just tidy that up. Now there is a bit of light coming from there, so I think the first place I'm going to take a stamp from is here. So I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key on Windows and then left click once to take a copy. As you can see, I've got a copy of that now, and then I'm just going to run that just along the edge there so it matches up. Just bring that through. So that's where the light area is. So and then I'm going to do the same here. I'm just going to take stamp from over here and just paint that in there a little bit. There we go. And the same with this edge here. I'm just going to take that edge, just taking a stamp there. That little edge there, we can get rid of that just by taking a slightly smaller brush, taking a stamp from there, and then just painting over that bit. You can see that does quite well. Then we're going to bring this edge up here, so I'm going to go down here, take a slightly bigger brush, and I'm just going to plop that there, bring that up through. You've always got this side you can always use as well if you want to try to fill in over there, but in fact I'm going to take another one from here, just going to come in there. There we go, that's got that little bit there. Going to come down here, take a center there, just line up those lines, and then just paint that little bit out there as well. Once you've mastered the stamp tool, actually, it's surprising what you can in fact actually do. I'm going to take this stone here, you see, and move this up to here, and then line it up with that stone there, and then I can paint that out as well, just bringing that up through, and just tidy up this little stone here, take the end of this stone and pop it in there, so that actually matches quite well. And we just need to get this last little bit done here, so I'm going to take another stamp from down here, and I'm just going to bring that up through to here, and you just keep taking new stamps so that you've got fresh material, trying not to create a pattern, trying to keep it as random as possible. So I'm just going to make my brush a little bit smaller on this top edge here, and I'm just going to paint across. You can see where the cross is, that's where we're painting from. Yeah, and you can see that brings up the edge there. So let me just take this little bit here as well, and we will just paint out that little bit there. So it's nice to have a little bit of randomness in there to make sure that it looks pretty realistic. There we go. So there's still the little bit left here, so we're going to take a stamp from over here, just try to fill that in a little bit there, and likewise I think we'll take the end of this stone here, plop it there, and then just bring that up through. There we go. And I'm going to take another one there just to get rid of this last little bit here. Now you can see that this one, and this one are the same, so we need to break those up a little bit. So we can go down here and take another stone from down there and just paint that in, just to break that up. And also we could always take the edge of this one here, just to maybe this one, just to break up that edge so it's a little bit different from the others, just to create that randomness there. So that's got rid of that. We're going to go across here and get rid of this one here, this post. So the good thing here is that because it's a vertical shape, we can just take a stamp from to the left here, we can take a slightly bigger brush and go straight over the top of it like this, maybe a little bit bigger, and then as I go down, it will copy whatever's on the left there onto the right, as you can see, and I'll go all the way down to the bottom, and it's basically got rid of it. But you can see that there is a similar pattern there. So what we need to do is just mix that up a little bit. So I'll go over here and then just put in a slightly different one there, and maybe this one here. Let's find something a little bit different here, just to break that up a little bit there. We've got to straighten up the edge of this curbstone here, so I'm just going to take a small stamp from there and just paint across there like so, just to make sure that that's straight. And here again you can see it just needs to be just straightened up a little bit, so I'm just going to put that in like so. So that's pretty good. I'm going to have a go at this one as well. This is quite tricky, this one, because there's a lot more detail we need to deal with here. So the way to deal with something like this is you need to find these sort of straight lines. You can see the edge of the path step here. What we need to do is we need to use that to actually to make that work. So I'm going to go down here and take a stamp from down here, and I'm going to point that there and then just draw through. There we go. So I've effectively just drawn through there, and I can use that just to open that up a little bit more there, so you can see the step as it comes through. So I'm going to need to take the stones from over here as well, I think, and just paint the rest of that in up to that point, to the bottom of that curb. That's it. So that edge is a bit too defined, so we just need to break that up a little bit, just to put a few bits and pieces in there. That's looking okay. I'm going to take this area over here and I'm going to use that to paint down through into this one here. Same, going to go to the bottom of that step, just take that there and draw through there. There we go. So we've got that step in there. Repetitive pattern there, you can see that. So we're going to take a step from over here, and maybe one from over here. Just put that in there to break that up a little bit. I'm going to take this one here, and I'm just going to fill the rest of that in. Just trying to make sure that we have got randomness in the in the actual stamp itself. So a little bit of work needed here because it looks very similar. So we can do that. There we go. And this one down here doesn't quite look right, so we're just going to take something up from up there and bring that in. That looks pretty good. Then we got to look at this wall. So take my brush a little bit smaller. I'm going to take a stamp from the wall up here, and I'm just going to bring that down into that area. There we go. Got the top of it there, so I'm just going to take another little stamp from there, just paint that bit in. So there's the edge of that wall done, and then we just need to follow this step over. So coming back here, taking it from there, just bring that up to the edge of that wall there. It's looking pretty good. I might even take a little tiny stamp from down there just to put the top of the step in. And I think that that looks pretty authentic. There is a shadow left here from where that column was, so we will just need to just brush that out. That doesn't look so bad here. I'm quite happy with that. So now we're going to do this sign over here. So same thing, I'm going to take a stamp just to the right of this sign, about here, and then I'm just going to come over here and I'm literally just going to paint that over the top of this one here. So we're taking basically the copy from the right there, and we're just going to copy that through there. We can fix that in a second. So just want to get that in the right place there. And I think we'll also take out that this sign here. So take a new stamp from here, and then we'll just paint that in. There we go, along that edge. So this wall bit here, and take another stamp from just a bit further down. Just paint that in. And the same again here, just to straighten that little edge out there. And you basically just take stamps to get to where you want to be. Bottom of this wall here, just took a stamp there, just moving down. Paint that out, and I just want to get rid of that bit of rubbish there. Now I can swap over to the healing tool for this, so I can just take a small one there and just take that out with the contrast. So that's looking pretty good. I think I've got that there. Just take out some little bits of garbage on the ground in places. I'm just going to get rid of those, and certainly here in the close-up of the shot you can see there's cigarette ends and little bits and pieces. I'm just going to take that bit of grass out because it's a copy. So cigarette butts, get rid of those, and yeah, I think we've got the worst of it now. Just looking around, so I'm holding down the space bar and just moving with the left left mouse button to move to where we need to go. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. So I'm just going to zoom out. Now, what we do need to do is these cars over here, we need to deal with those. Now, we can take them out directly. You try to use the heal tool, but I think what we have here is a similar angle. If you look at the angle that's coming down from on the right hand side here, if we take a similar angle down here, we could probably use the area over here to actually copy into there. So going back to the stamp tool, I think what we should do is we should include the edge of this bit of road here to go with this edge of this bit of road here. So I'm going to go in here with a stamp just at the back there, and then I'm going to bring that up and look for the end of the road. So I'm just going to zoom in here a second, and then I'm going to look for the end of the road up here like so, and I'm just going to paint that across. There we go, and bring that down, and let's come up alongside this curb here and see if we can I mean, that line coming in is a little bit distracting. Just get rid of the rest of that there. So but it does work. It does seem to work okay. Maybe we go a bit further over, so we can come over here by this little plant pot here and take that back up to the top there. There's the plant pot there. So we want to sort of bring that over a little bit more. There we go, and then we can paint that back in, and that actually is a little bit better. And just bring that back in there. There we go. That actually works quite well. I'm going to take a new stamp on the edge of the pavement here and just tidy up a little bit further down. There we go. So that's a little bit tidy. There's a little bit of the motorbike handle just sticking out there. So I'm just going to take another little stamp there and just paste that in. So don't really want that one there. That looks okay. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Maybe we want to bring the curb over slightly, so we can take a little stamp from there and just move it over ever so slightly and repaint it down to there. So you just got a little bit further over. So we come up, same here really. We can just blend that back in. So that's looking pretty good. That lantern's not there. You see that little lantern is missing. So I'm just going to go back over here to this lantern here, take a small stamp of the base of there. There we go. I'm going to move back over to here, and taking the base of that lantern, I'm just going to perhaps make my mouse just a little bit smaller still and just paint that in. In fact, it's brought through the back a bit too bright, so I'm just going to undo that. I'm going to make my mouse even smaller, come in even closer, so we don't get that background color in there. Still getting a little bit, needs to be smaller. Control Z or Command Z on a Mac just to make that even smaller. Just going to go up there and use the shift click. You can still see that little blue, so I'm going to go Control Z again, just going to go even smaller. And that's getting closer to the point now. Just paint it up, bring in the top of the lantern. There we go. I'm not sure you're going to see that from all the way back there, but we can always darken that down when we go back into Lightroom. So a couple of wheelie bins there. So I'm just going to go into the healing tool and we're just going to take those little wheelie bins out. There's one there gone. And there's the other one gone. Just take that edge there so it doesn't look so bad. That's it. And I think we have extracted all the things that we want to remove. So I'm just having one more look around. Oh, happy with that. So let's go back out to fit screen. So we now have the road coming down through there. We have the lanterns up there. That looks quite nice. Now the red is sort of here. We probably want to get rid of that little bit of red. So I'm just going to zoom back in over here. And we're just going to get rid of that redness, and we do the same. We take a stamp tool and we just go to make it a little bit bigger. Just go to the left here, take a stamp there, and then just draw that out. There we go. Take another one and then just take that out up there. It's not looking so good in terms of randomness, so I'm just going to bring that over here and just draw that back in as well, just to break that up a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to go back into fit screen. So we're now going to do the sky replacement. Now we've got where we want to be with the removing all the objects. So I'm going to go to edit. I'm still in Photoshop. I'm going to go to sky replacement. And then you get the sky replacement module open up. And whatever sky is in that box, it will automatically put into the scene for you. I mean, that actually looks quite good, to be fair. But I want something a little bit more dramatic. So I'm going to go to the little pull down arrow here, and this brings up all the ones that you've already got loaded, and you do get a few with Photoshop, but there are a number of packs that you can purchase for skies. If you do purchase additional sky packs, Serge Ramelli has got a very good sky pack, as does Clever Photographer, for quite good money. I think $20-30 you're getting yourself sort of 50-60 skies, high resolution. They're very useful. Also, always take your camera with you. You never know when you see that perfect sky. It might not be in the perfect location, but you can at least shoot the sky. Then you can shoot it raw, and then you've got even more data that you can play with. And then once you've got them loaded into your computer, you can go to this little plus box down here. You can click on that, and in here you can see here's all my skies here that I've collected over the years from different suppliers, and some I've taken myself. And then you can just basically go to one romantic sunsets. Now on a Mac, I don't know about Windows machine, but if you highlight a file here and press spacebar, you can actually see it. And then if I use the down cursor arrows, I can go through all the skies looking at them to see which one I like or which one I want to use. Press spacebar again to put it back before you actually select anything. It's quite a nice little feature. So I'm not going to pick one from there. I've got one here that I think would work well. I've used this one quite a few times. There we go. That's brought it in. Now we want to get rid of this open new skies box. So you don't click OK at this point in time because we're still in the module. I tend to just click up on this little grey space here, and that puts us back to all the sliders. Now, before I start doing the edge and doing all the sliders here, I actually want to position this sky. And what you can do, whilst you're in the move tool here, you can literally just grab the sky and you can move it about. You can see the edge of it there. You can see the edge of it there. So you want to try and keep it so it's in the shot. There we go. And I'm just going to bring it down because I think that darkness up in that top left corner would work quite well. So I'm just going to bring that in like so. See this side? Yeah, that looks good. And we just want to make sure that we're getting the edges properly done. The sky's not bleeding over too much. There's a little bit bleeding over there, and there is some down here. So you can use the shift edge and the fade edge to look at that. And what I tend to do is I tend to take quite big chunks to see the effect. If I go all the way to the left or all the way to the right, you can see how much effect it has. So then you can find the mid ground where you're getting that balance off. There we go. That's -15, seems to work quite well there. And the fade edge the same. So go big positive, you can see it takes it away. Big negative, you can see it brings it back in again. So actually moving that around, I think you're probably going to be, I think, around about 15 again, about 15 there. Now, we don't really need to add more color to this sky. It's very orange already, but you can also move that slider if you really want to boost the orange to bring the color in, or you can go more blue. Now, in this case, I think because you've got blue here, the buildings are blue. There's a blueness about it. I think we do want to add just a little bit. So, say we don't want too much. So I think we're actually going to go a little bit of blue there. And I'm just maybe bring the brightness down just a little bit as well. There we go. Now, whilst you're in here, you do have a flip little tick box here, a little check box. You can click that, and that will actually move the sky from one side to the other. But actually, I like it that way around, bringing this darkness over here. And I think what I'm going to do is put a little sun coming through over here, which will really brighten this whole thing up. So, well, just before we finish off here, just want to the last three sliders, the foreground lighting. This lights the buildings and the subject effectively. So if I bring that down, you can see the top of the buildings lighten up. And if I bring that up, you can see the top of the buildings darken down. And in fact, I do really want to darken those buildings a little bit. So I'm going to come in at 75 on there. And then the edge lighting, you'll also see if I move all the way to 1, you can see it lights up the buildings rather than the sky. If I go all the way the other way, you can see again it darkens it down. So you just got to find where you want to go. I tend to find if the edge lighting is a bit low, you do get a bit of a halo along the edge. So I tend to bring this quite far over this way. So I'm going to go 85 on that one. And then the color adjustment, this is the really good slider. It really works well. It takes the color of the sky and it applies it to the main scene. Now we've already got these sort of oranges and blues, but if I bring that over more, you can see I can bring more of the color into the scene if I go too far. Or if I want less, I can go back to 0, and then that's the original colors. You see that doesn't work particularly well. So what we want to do is find where these blues and these blues match the blues in the sky. And I think I would say it's probably around there, about 35, I think. Yeah, that works quite well. Now, if you do have a few areas where there is a little bit of a halo along the edge and it's not particularly good, you can go to the Refine Edge tool here. If you just click on this next one down, you'll see it here. And that gives you a little brush. If you use the square brackets to make it bigger on your keyboard, you can then run along the edge as such, and it will actually infill just along the edges just to make it take away any sort of halo effect, particularly if you've got like trees and things like that. So just to bring that in, I'm just going to look over this side and just go along the top of there. There we go. So you need, when you're using the brush, I'll make it bigger just to show you, there's a little plus in the middle of it, and you need to keep that on the building as you're going along the edge. Yeah, so if you go along the edge, you'll see it will light the sky up if you do it that way. So if I just undo that. Now, if you do the opposite, which is that you put the brush in the sky, then it will light the sky more. You see there? That's okay bright up there because that's where I'm going to put the sun in a minute. So I'm just going to brighten that up through there. There we go. You see it brightens up the roof there of that building, which we will need when we put some more sunlight up there. Now, once you've done and you're happy with your shot, what you can do is export it back into, bring it back into Photoshop from this module. Now, there are two settings here. There's new layers and there's duplicate layer. New layer gives you a layer for everything that's happened in the sky replacement. I find it overcomplicates things really, because all we really want to do is take the sky back in. So I'm going to go to duplicate layer. I'm going to click OK, and you'll see it will just create this extra layer. And the background layer we had before is behind it. Now, I'm happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to right click on the bottom, the original, and I'm just going to delete that layer. And the reason I do that is I don't need both layers now back in Lightroom. It keeps the other layer in the background. So if you come back in, you've got the detail to work with. I'm happy just to have that final layer. So we've got that done. Pretty happy with that. Going to take it back into Lightroom now, and we're going to finish off the edit. So to take it back into Lightroom, we go to File, we go to Close, and then we go to Save. And it's really important that you do the File, Close, Save. You don't do File, Save, or File, Save As, because if you do that, it will put it back in the folder it came from, but you will have to resynchronize your Lightroom folder to get it back in the viewer. Whereas if you do File, Close, Save, it comes back in as a viewer, and you can see there it is. It's in there now as a TIFF. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm just going to get rid of that information up in the top left corner. So I want to put this sun in as well. I think that would look really, really good here. But before I do that, I'm just going to darken this whole thing down just slightly, because we're going to relight it again. So I'm going to bring this down about half a stop there, minus 0.5. And I'm just going to open up the shadows just a little bit more, but another 30 on the shadows there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the sun in, and then we're going to do the final sort of process finish to bring this image to where it needs to be. Now, I'm going to use Luminar to put the sun in. It has a really good feature for sun rays. You can put a sun in just using radial gradients, but in this case, I'm going to actually right click. I'm going to go to Edit In, and I'm going to go to Luminar 4. I have Neo as well. I prefer 4 to Neo because Neo is more of a one-click fix arrangement. It does have the features that 4 has, but 4's just, for me, just seems a little bit more analog, a little bit more, I can play around with it a bit. So I'm just going to edit a copy of the Lightroom adjustments, and it's going to open up Luminar 4. It's going to put this image into Luminar 4, and then I'll show you this fantastic feature that Luminar has, which is basically to bring the sun. So let me just, I'm just going to bring this out of full screen so we can bring Luminar screen in. Here it is. So in here in Luminar, there are lots and lots and lots of things you can do here. You can go into AI enhance, and you can bring on some of these sort of accents and sky enhancers and bits and pieces. They really do work quite well. You can see just looking at that, it really brings it alive. And I might just add a little bit of that in there before we do this, and I'm just bringing a little bit of sky in as well. And then you've got AI structure. The AI structure is quite a big sort of clarity booster. If you bring that in, you just get tons and tons and tons of clarity. So again, you have to be just a little bit careful. I'm just going to bring a little bit of that in, and you have this boost. I think some people like to have loads, make it look really, really boosty. I don't particularly like that. Just a little bit on there, and then I'm going to go down here to the creative palette here, and in creative you will find that it's got sun rays. Now, in the sun rays, I'm just going to click advanced. You've got all these sliders here. You can place the sun center. If I click on that, you see this white dot appears, and I want to put that over here, just on the edge of that building there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the amount. If you go too far, it gets a bit too much, you see. But just bring up a little bit, just to get some sun rays coming in. You can move the sliders down here. Overall look, you can make it more or less affected by the sun rays, and the length of the sun rays also. You can have shorter sun rays, you can have longer sun rays that come out from there. So just sort of peeking through, I'm going to go about there, and the penetration just tells you how much light you're going to get from the sun that you've put up there. So I'm going to go in there quite bright. Number of sun rays, it's normally set at 50. You can make it more, so you get these sharper edges, or you can make it less, so you get more of a diffused effect. Depending where you want to go, I often find around about 25 to 30 works quite well. You also have a randomized slider down the bottom, so if you want to move this, you can change by moving to the right. You've got lots of different positions that you can have the light coming from the sun coming through. You can increase the warmth of the light from the sun, or you can make it whiter depending where you want to go. So we'll have it about there, and the sun rays the same. You can make the sun rays a little bit warmer as well, just to bring it through. That works quite well because you've got these lights down here. We will add a little bit more light down there, but I'm just going to bring that over just a little bit more. I'm just going to bring the penetration back just a little bit. There we go. And then you have the middle three, which is radius, glow, and the amount of glow. Radius means how big the light coming away from the sun is, and the smaller you go. If you do go smaller, you do need to increase the penetration just a little bit. Same with the glow. You can create more or less glow depending on whether you want more or less coming through there. So it's quite a good tool. It does give you a very realistic looking sun with sun rays. I'm just going to increase the sun rays a little bit more. There we go. Good, happy with that. I'm not going to do much more in here. I just really wanted to put that in, so I'm just going to apply that, and it will process this and put it back into Lightroom. So we'll have a new TIFF file to work with, which includes the sun, and that's what we will do. So it's just saving there, and then we go back into Lightroom and we'll wait for it to appear. There you go, and now the sun's in there. That works really, really well. So oranges here are a bit overpowering. I'm just going to back off the saturation just a little bit, so it's not too much. And you can also go down to the HSL sliders here and just take back the orange if you want to, and increase the blue if you want to just sort of have a little bit of a play with those colors. So, but remember, we dropped the brightness back by 0.5, and the reason we did that is that we want to relight this scene using radial gradients and linear gradients. So I'm going to go into masks. I'm going to take a linear gradient first off, and I'm just going to pop it in the top of the sky coming from left to right at an angle like that, and I'm just going to back that off just a little bit more, so it's a little bit darker up there in that top corner. I'm just going to add in some clarity to that. Do you see how that cloud just came alive then? So I'll show you that again. I'll go back to 0. So you see that, watch that cloud just here. Ready? And I'll bring the clarity up. Just see how that comes alive. Amazing. Really looks good. So I've just popped that in just so we're darkening that top corner there. And what we also need to do is, I think we probably just want to take a little bit of darkness on this bottom corner here. So I'm going to create a new mask, another linear gradient, and I'm just going to bring it up from a slight angle and just darken that down just a little bit there. You can see how that just sort of takes this corner away, not too much. There we go. So I want the sun rays to light this path up a little bit more than it is, so I'm going to create a new radial gradient this time. I'm going to pop that in here over where that light is coming from there. Just extend that out, and I'm just going to bring this up, adding in some color to match the color, just to make it really, really pop through there. You see that? So you know it's quite bright there. You can, in fact, might even better make it a little bit brighter, and a little bit yellow. There we go. A little bit magenta just to balance that off. Now I don't really want too much light over here. This light's putting light on there, so I'm just going to, inside this mask, I'm going to subtract a brush. This brush is going to have only a little tiny bit of feather, about 10%, and the flow is going to be 100. And I'm literally going to come on that line. You see this sort of line on the edge of the path here. I'm going to click the bottom there, and I'm just going to go up there and just click it up like that. So effectively we've removed that extra light that would have been coming from the sun up there. So that's now done down through here. What I'm also going to do on this is just add in a little bit of clarity just to make that pop a little bit more. That works quite well. Now we need to just deal with the Au Lapin Agile restaurant itself. So I'm going to take another radial gradient here, and I just want to bring this whole thing alive a little bit more, just bring a bit of a glow, to this whole area. So I'm just going to bring up the exposure, bring up the shadows. You see that? Just brightening this main part of the area up here, brings these trees alive. Looks really, really good. And I'm just going to add a little bit of clarity to that as well. So it's really popping in the center there. These trees are a bit bright. These lights are really pushing up onto this tree. So I'm just going to subtract a brush, and I'm going to put the feather up at 100% and the flow down at about 30. So I can just gently brush this out. But before I do, I'm going to select auto mask. Here it is over here. Select that. And what that does is it keeps the contrast between the bright and the dark bit. So you can see in the center of my brush here, there's a negative sign, a minus sign. If I place that on the brightest part of the tree here, and I click, and then I start painting, it will darken down those bright areas, but it won't overlap onto the building. So effectively, we can just take the, and I'm not letting go of the mouse button. I'm literally just painting over there. You see how that's doing it? There you go. Just bringing that down ever so gently, but it's not affecting the light on the building behind or on the actual restaurant itself. Just taking those very light areas down. And that's what the auto mask does. So it just gives it a little bit more, a little bit darker. Same over here. This is a bit bright from this lamp, so I'm just going to bring that down a few strokes on there just to bring that down. Now you can always move the whilst you're in the brush, you can always still alter the overall radial gradient here. This is the radial gradient. If I hover over the brush, you can see that where we were painting. Can you see how it's just on the trees? There's a little bit of an overflow, but it's mostly on the brightness of those tree areas. So and the same, you're still using that same brush, I can go in here on these bright areas and just bring these really bright areas, just bring them down a little bit. There we go. Works very well. Okay, so we've got that sorted. I need to sort these lights out. They're not looking, because we brought the highlights right down, they're not looking particularly realistic now. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go in and zoom in on these. So I'm just going to go into 100%. Going to move over here, and you can see. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a new radial gradient. We're going to place it over this lamp itself, like this. We're going to boost the brightness of it. There we go. And because we've got a flare coming from it, we don't need to mask this out. It works quite well just by having illumination over the top of it. So I'm just going to probably add a little bit of clarity to that as well, just to make that pop a little bit more. Maybe even bring up the highlights. There we go. So it's looking quite realistic. Right click, duplicate the radial, because I'm going to use it again on this one down here. Make this one a little bit smaller. There we go. Right click, duplicate. Same on this one here. And then right click, duplicate. Now we're going to bring this one, I think we'll bring this one over to the other side. So just go back to fit. There we go. Just pick that up, bring it over here. Go back to 100%. And we're going to go over to these ones and do the same thing. So just going to pop that on there. Just make that a little bit brighter there. Duplicate again. These three I can do together. So just going to rotate that. Bring them down a little bit like so. And again, pop it on this one over here. Just make that vertical. There we go. And one last one just on that light fitting over there. There we go. So if we go back to the full image, I think probably just need to do this one as well. So just going to take another one of those, pop it on there, just so it sparkles. I think we'll add a little bit more clarity to all of those. That's good. I'm going to take one more radial gradient and I'm going to pop it in the center of the sun. Let's just zoom in there just so we've got it really pushing, there we go, the brightness, and then just bring up that brightness so we've got a proper bright center to that sun. Might even make it just a little bit smaller. A little bit of color to it. There we go. Okay. So I think we're getting pretty close to the end result. I do want to just brighten up the pools of light from underneath these light fittings. And in fact, what I will do is I'm just going to make these a little bit brighter still. Looks like that one disappeared. So I'm just going to pop that one back. Duplicate. There we go. And I'm just going to again add in just a little bit of, oh, that's to the main screen, sorry, to the actual brush itself. There we go. It's a little bit more, a little bit texture. That's beautiful. Right. Let's go back. So yeah, we just want to brighten up the pools of light from the light fittings. And to do that, I'm just going to create a new mask, take a brush. The brush is going to have high feather, low flow. I'm going to turn the auto mask off because I actually want the light to go all over the area where I paint it. And I'm just going to set the exposure up about 0.67, 0.7, I think, something like that, a little bit of contrast. And then we're just going to gently ease these pools of light, just ease them up just a little bit. From there, you can see just on the wall there, change the size of your brush regularly and just bring that in there. I'm just going to bring this up through here. Same through here, smaller brush. Just bring that light up through. And I'm just going to bring a bit around the front here just to brighten up the front here. There we go, as though there's light coming from across the road this way, you can see. And the fence there works quite well. So yeah, I think we're pretty close. Just going to brighten that up in the distance there a little bit. Yeah. Right, so I think we're done with masks. I'm going to go back to the basic tools and we're going to do the final adjustments just to get it perfect. And I think what we need to do here is bring up the shadows just a little bit. I'm going to go +10 again now. I'm going to bring up the highlights just a little bit, +20. So these areas pop a little bit more. I think we need to be careful with clarity. Clarity is a difficult one. Certainly add a little bit of texture in just to make this all work quite well through here. That looks quite good. I think the sky needs more clarity. So let's go back into the mask, create a new mask, select the sky. So we will get a sky mask. There we go. And now we can add contrast to that sky. So quite a bit, about 40-ish there, and add clarity to that sky. Just see how that light pops with the clarity in the sky. Works really, really well. The more you add, the more, do you see that? Really amazing how it pulls that out. It's probably a bit much. I'm just going to come back a little bit, a little tiny bit of texture up there. And actually, I'm going to add some noise reduction, because when we were zoomed in looking at the sky, because that sky is actually a JPEG versus this, and it's also 20 megapixels as opposed to the 61 megapixel main image. You can see the noise there. So whilst we're still on that mask, I'm just going to bring the noise reduction up. There we go. You can see it's removed the noise reduction a little bit. Come back a little bit there. Go to about 80, I think. Perfect. So sky's looking good. Might add a little bit of sharpness to the sky as well whilst we're still in there. Right, last thing I'm going to do here, I think we do need to do come out of our mask. We do need to do our blacks and our whites. So I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key on Windows. I'm going to grab the white slider and I'm just going to see where we are. And if I bring it up, you can see more light. You can see the sun in the top right there. and you can see the street lights. Well, they're okay to be white, but what we do need to be careful of is that we're not clipping too much. But to get away from clipping, I'd have to come right the way down to the bottom, and actually we probably want to come in, I think, around about, I'm going to go with +5, and then the black's the same. I'm going to bring the blacks down until we start to see some black. Now, black in the sky there, we don't want too much black, so I'm just starting up that top left corner. That's looking pretty good. And then the final adjustments, I'm going to add a little bit more exposure, just bring it up a little bit. There we go. I'm going to bring down those highlights that I altered just a moment ago back to 0 because I've brightened the exposure. It's brought the whole brightness up. Maybe back off the saturation just a little bit more, maybe add a little bit of vibrance to it. No, not too happy with that. Just going to Control Command Z and go back to where we were. I think just a little tiny bit there, +4. Yeah, and then I'm going to go down to effects. I'm going to go to a post-crop vignette slider here, and I'm going to add, and what it does is it brings in the darkness around the edges. You see that? I'm not going to go that far, but that's what it does. It comes in, I'm going to come in at about 25, -25, and then really important when you use this post-crop vignette is to go to the feather slider and bring that up to 100. It really opens the image back up in the center there. I'm going to go back up to the top, bring a little bit more exposure back in, just to brighten up a little bit more, and just take those highlights down just a little bit more. Bit too strong on the blues through here, so I'm going to go down to the HSL slider and I'm going to back the blues off a little bit. There we go. Can you see that? That's where we were. Just going to back that off just a little bit to there. Yeah. And then the final thing I'm going to do is the detail, which is the overall noise reduction and sharpening. I'm just going to bring up a little bit of noise reduction, about 20 on the whole image. I'm going to bring up some sharpening around about 40, so it really is sharp, but you do need to bring the masking in. So hold down the Option or Alt key, move the masking slider, and as you do, what's black will have noise reduction applied, and what's white will have sharpening applied. So the further you go over, the more that gets noise reduction. The less you do, the more that gets sharpened. So I'm trying to find, so the side of those buildings is getting reasonable noise reduction, and I reckon that's about there. And then you get this sort of almost a hue, a softness to it. So I'm going to say we're pretty well there. I quite like that shot, that image. That works very, very well. Let's just go back to where we started, which was here. Let me just reset that. So that's what we started with. We'd exposed for the highlights, remember, and then we've worked our way through and we've created this, which actually I'm really quite happy about. I think it needs a little bit more contrast. Now I'll just come back there, just going to bring up the contrast just a little bit. Yeah. And I am going to say, I think we have a finished image. I'm happy with that. The sky looks great. Yeah. So well, hopefully you enjoyed that. It was a little bit of a longer one. Shows my full workflow really to get from the beginning to the end to try to create a really great picture. It is in the detail. You've got to go in and sort of tidy up the images and get them where you want them to be. But anyway, if you enjoyed that, please give me a like for this video. Always helps. If you're not already subscribed, love you to subscribe and to continue the journey that we're all having together here on YouTube. I'm having great fun with this. So and of course I always welcome comments down below or any questions. So I think that's a wrap for now. I'll say bye-bye.